We've all heard the same things. The metaverse is a virtual world. The metaverse is all about virtual reality, VR, 3D, gaming. The metaverse is almost always talked about as this otherworldly place that transports us out of reality. What if the true impact of the metaverse will be on how it changes the real world? We start with Marty Resnick, an analyst with the Gartner Futures Lab. So, Marty, what is the metaverse anyway?
That's a great question. I'll give you the official Gartner definition first. A metaverse is a collective virtual shared space created by the convergence of virtually enhanced physical and digital realities. What does all that mean? Really, in plain language, the metaverse is the next level of interaction in the virtual and physical worlds.
Our research team took a deeper look at this, asking some fundamental questions. If you were to build a completely new world, how would it be better than our physical world? Could we solve things like inequality? Can we make sure that people treat each other well? What about climate change? And if we experience this example of a better world, what if we could bring that over to the real world? Here's Marty again.
So there's this concept called the overview effect. So when astronauts go to space and they first see the planet Earth, it looks really small. Something happens and they no longer feel confined by the perspective of being in certain borders in certain areas, certain countries, certain distractions. They see the entire world, and it has this effect on them because when they come back, they start to think about the world completely differently. So we use this idea of thinking about the metaverse. If I go into the metaverse, if I transport there, and it's this bigger, better place, then what can happen is when I return to the physical world, I see our physical world entirely differently, and we call that the metaverse effect.
Gartner predicts that by 2026, 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse for work, shopping, education, socializing, or entertainment. But what does that really mean? Gartner analyst Ankita Kalari gives an example of what that might look like.
Let's say I want to renovate my home living room, but because of my busy schedule, I'm not really able to find time to visit those furniture stores and meet interior designers who can help me. Also, when it comes to interior redesigns, it's rather time intensive. It takes a lot of work and time to see which product should I buy, which themes I should go for, and together how it will look in the actual setup. Now imagine there is this XYZ home interior decorator and they have their entire design studio in the metaverse. Now their setup is so cool and so encompassing that I can literally explore a wide range of products. So it can be a sofa, see a new coffee table, and literally any piece of furniture I can explore just sitting at my home and my spatial computing glasses on. They even have some sample theme room setups to explore, just like we see in actual physical store. And their interior designers can then set up a customized theme living room based on my preferences and ideas.
And here's where it gets really crazy. Imagine how that could change dozens of other behaviors. Will we need to get on planes, deal with airports, or can we virtually travel or have people travel to me for that conversation? We're getting to the point that transportation companies must embrace these metaverse technologies, not implement necessarily, but explore and understand. Gartner analyst Quant Qnt highlights how this will affect us beyond what we might expect.
So the metaverse isn't just about changing the world into how you'd like it to be, right? That's escapism. And we have many outlets, many venues, avenues for escapism, books, TVs, movies, virtual reality, games, the list goes on. The metaverse is about transforming how you interact with the world around you. And that may be in part escapism, but I think the bigger, the more impactful part is how it changes your behavior, how you interact with the people around you, how you interact with an organization or a brand, how you interact with your employer, and vice versa. It will be as big as the shift that we had when we went from the analog era into the digital era.
This is clearly a time to explore the impact. How do you get ready? Here are 3 things you can do right now. The first is to learn and understand the impact the metaverse could have on the physical world. The second is to expand your worldview, embracing the overview or metaverse effect. The third is to focus on the role your organization could play in a borderless and boundless world. So, what will we explore next? Tune in to Think Again for more deep takes on the future.
Let's jump into the QNT Quant coverage. All right, this comes from Tokenizer. Give him a follow. In my opinion, he's the GOAT of research. I mean that respectively. Guy's full of tons of knowledge, tons of, utility max he is, Crypto Smith would say. All right, so let's share this. And some of you guys are investing in Energy Web token. I'm not yet, as part of I don't know, roughly about 10 different ones I need to get into. Can't own everything.
I have some of that.
Yeah. I honestly think it's solid. I mean, I wouldn't mind cover it more, but I would like to be personally invested into it. I believe that this is tokenized. When he was on the show, I think he said Energy Web token is his number 2 of his top 5. Don't quote me on it, but I think he said that last time he was on the show. All right, here's an update from Tokenizer. He did tweet this out yesterday. Earlier this month, we saw Energy Web X director, hopefully I pronounced this right, Ioannis Vlachos, join ITU Metaverse Focus Group FGMV. Now, you may be wondering who's that. They are the International Telecommunications Union, UN agency for digital tech connecting the world through spectrum management, brokering standards. Key thing here, guys, is standards. What does Gilbert Verdian talk about a lot? Just that, standards. And he created what? The ISO TC307 standard. So that's a big deal. Why are we pointing this out? Well, let's get into why this is something you should pay attention to. So if anything, I think this is big enough to see. Does that look big enough for you?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's point this out. And great research once again from Tokenizer. Can't take the credit here. So give him a follow at Tokenizer. He's killing it on crypto Twitter. He's now up to 25K followers, bringing blockchain and enterprise purpose blockchain DLT. Just a great researcher. All right, so some key things here to reference, okay? And that basically is ITU focus group on metaverse. This was something that was posted, like it says, July 2023 to present. I guess it was basically about a month ago. But here's the key finding that he wants to point out. There's going to be a collaboration platform for dialogue for identifying stakeholders with whom ITUT could collaborate for enabling the inclusion of non-members and contribute to the technical pre-standardization work. The focus group will be enriched with the identification of relevant use cases. The part I meant to share with you before that, is that the group will now analyze the technical requirements of the metaverse. Think about this for a second, guys, to identify fundamental enabling technologies in areas from multimedia and network optimization to digital currencies, Internet of Things. We're always talking about IoT. Gilbert Verdian also calls it, Internet of Trust, digital twins. I mean, for one, Internet of Things, I'm obviously thinking of Jasmine all the time, but this is a different thing. Obviously, we're talking about QNT. Digital twins, that's another thing Jasmine gets an honorable mention too, because they have a lot of things going on with digital twins. But here's what's something that I think deserves a mention. So you do see on the bottom of all these different ISO, messaging standards and so on, and there's quite a bit. I mean, ISO is not just strictly, messaging system for the banks and, the financial sectors of the world and so on. But you see reference is the Quant standard, right? Created by Gilbert Verdian. I believe the inception of it was 2015 and realized back in 2016. So it has been around a while. ISO TC 307. Now you may be wondering, why even reference any of this? Well, let me show you a second. So what I want to show you just real quick is this right here on why this is a big deal to pay attention to all of this. And this comes from beyondgames.biz. The metaverse, if you're wondering about this, like it says, could be worth $13 trillion by 2030. This was an article, of course, back from April 4th, 2022. It might have fluctuated by then. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt if it has. But some key findings I want to point out to you guys, and I've blown this up for you can see it real nice. The total addressable market for the metaverse economy, like I said, could grow between 8 trillion and 13 trillion by 2030. So for the purposes of this video and this segment, we're going to lowball it at the 8 trillion mark. Okay, so just try to remember that. It says with 5 billion users worldwide, according to a new report from one of the largest financial institutions, which of course is cited from who? Citi or Citigroup, right? This valuation is based on the definition of the metaverse as combining the physical and digital world in a persistent and immersive manner. We know about some of this stuff, right? So here's my key takeaway. You know, I've been criticized in the past about trying to do an accurate valuation on some of this stuff. So let's give the benefit of the doubt of the naysayers. We're just going to talk about the metaverse. We're not going to talk about the financial sectors of the world. We're not going to talk about, especially with what Quant does as far as like, you know, what they got going on with, you know, Oracle or APIs or any of that stuff. Let's just talk simply or bluntly the metaverse. Okay. That's the topic that we're on. Let me show you guys something real quick. All right. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that, you know, if we lowball it to 8 trillion and QNT, as in the Quant network, just touched 2.85% of that. Now you may be wondering, why did you pick 2.85%? Well, for one, why aren't you glad to pick the full 8 trillion? Yeah, because they're not going to be able to harness the full part of the metaverse. No, there's going to be other players and so on. So let's say 2.85%, and you'll see why I mentioned 2.85%. So based off of 2.85%, and this only includes the metaverse. We understand what Quant does with all this, you know, 100 plus blockchain for interoperability, and the Bank of International Settlements literally chose Quant, and, you know, God, I mean, we already done all this stuff, right? We already done all the deep dives on it. So again, back to the topic about metaverse. Let me show you guys this. So what I want to show you right here is that currently speaking on CMC, and I believe you can see this. Yeah, you do. Here's the big players. Bitcoin, obviously, at $581 billion market cap. Then there's Ethereum, right? And of course, BTC at the height of all this used to be in the trillions, okay? When it was worth 69K per BTC. So this is based on these figures, okay? So based on these figures, and I'm going to show you this right now. Ethereum is a market cap of 228 billion, 204. What is this? Hold on, so 228 billion. I mean, it fluctuates. 233 million and some change. Okay, I hate to call that change, but that's what it is. Rank number 2. You guys seen these things before? The market cap of blah blah blah. Okay, yep. So show the price of A with the market cap of B. QNT. For instance, like it says, with the, you know, the current price of it with the market cap of B of Ethereum. Okay, here it is. QNT with the market cap of ETH, all right, is 151.33x. Okay, now again, that's based off of just what was the amount I mentioned before? 2.85% of that lowballing an $8 trillion amount of what the metaverse could be by 2030. Again, I think I'm being more than reasonable here. Okay, so I'm glad to show you guys that, because you know what? Some people, I think it was literally yesterday or the day before, they're like, how much do you think QNT could be worth even if you lowballed it? I saw it in the comments. We shared it. I don't know if it was Salamander said to somebody, but somebody asked them. Here's another idea. Am I too far off with some of this stuff? Because the way I look at it is, if QNT has a far less supply, and it does, compared to BTC, sitting at roughly 14.8 million total on that supply, and BTC is like, was it 21, 22 million? This has hundreds of use cases. Like I mentioned before, 100 plus blockchains interoperable. The central bank of central banks has chosen it. But again, this is a metaverse topic, so we don't even have to include that. So based on just what I was talking about from the metaverse, Are you guys not insanely bullish on the potential of QNT? That is one of my key takeaways, and that is why I wanted to bring this to your attention. What do you think about this? Am I too far off with this? Does that sound crazy?
Not too far off at all. And I think what a lot of people's thing is with the metaverse is it's so hard to picture, because with the metaverse we have even less infrastructure set up. The thing you have to really think about is the World Economic Forum really is pushing metaverse. One of the coins that, or two of the coins that LCX, which is a member of that World Economic Forum, list is Sandbox and Mana. Now, imagine a world like 2 years from now where we have Solana phones and ETH phones and Polygon phones. Then you can imagine the metaverse being a very bigger thing, because now all of those computer games the kids already play on their phone are now probably connected to the metaverse, are probably Sandbox now, are probably Mana now, and the metaverse is kind of here. And you already know, you've seen the whole Apple with their little snow goggles with the whole Internet of Things type of deal. There is coming, and everybody's running around with the Apple Watch. So things are happening there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up the whole topic of the phone. I'm just gonna pull up on my screen for a second. Let me see if I can just pull this up again. I think we had, I should say think, I know for a fact we did. We had a video talking about Vodafone. Are you aware of Vodafone by any chance?
Yes, they're partnered with a couple different cryptos too. I think Cardano and somebody else.
Yeah, well, one of the things I covered a while back, and I'm trying to pull this up. It was a good video. I don't know if it got a lot of views. That's not the point, but it talks a lot about why it's important, and it's basically like, I'm sure you remember, right? Even here in the United States, it's like Verizon was such a big deal back in like the mid 2000s to like before 2010. Like I would say basically like from, what was it, like 2005 to like 2009, 2010, like pretty big name across the United States, a pretty big deal. I found it. Here we go. Look at this. All right. So if you guys are wondering about this, because I'm glad that, Rue pulled this up. So 4 months ago, roughly, it says Quant Qnt. Yeah, I only got 912 views. It's decent. Don't get me wrong. You gotta love that thumbnail, by the way. Anyway, it says Quant Vote. Yeah, thanks. Quant Vodafone over ledgers integrated SIM cards. The reason why that's a big deal is because this was literally, I should say was, still is. Vodafone is like how we should look at, like the example I mentioned, Verizon, like when it was at its peak here in the United States. That is the way you should look at Vodafone. So if you don't know about Vodafone, that was a big deal. So that's all I was trying to do. I was trying to bring that up because you mentioned the whole thing with phones. You're referencing like Solana and stuff. Yeah.
So now I didn't even know about this one. This is amazing. So yeah, that puts Quant right there in line with the meta.
Again, and my thing is, people just, they keep doubting Quant, and it's just like, if you dive more into it, you'll see so many connections you weren't even aware of.
Yep.